going on? It's Ultimus. This video, we are going to be looking at the Affliction Warlock Artifact weapon. Affliction being the one Warlock spec I think that intrigues me the most. I started off playing Destro when I leveled my Warlock. That was what appealed to me the most, but over the course of Mist of Pandaria and then now Warlords of Draenor, I think I've grown to love, or not love, but enjoy the idea of Affliction more so than Destruction. Just because I feel like Destruction got away from all the fire spells and things like that, so maybe going into Legion, Destruction will appeal to me more, but as of right now, I'm definitely curious about Affliction. Partly because I like what they're bringing back for Affliction, and I like the direction they're going in it, and I also like just the way the artifact weapon looks. However, the Great Staff of Sargeras does look pretty dope for Destruction as well. But let's go ahead and get right in and dive into this. I'm trying to get better at this in that I have the talent trees set up on a different window over here so that I can quickly reference them if I need to without messing around with all of the cutting and pasting and moving stuff around on the webcam and stuff like that. So hopefully that turns out to be something that is effective. But we're going to go ahead and jump right in with our first ability in the Affliction Warlock Artifact weapon, and that is Reap Soul. And this is a 2-second cast with a 45-second cooldown, and it deals 20% of spell power, shadow damage every 3 seconds for 42 seconds. That's actually a very long time. Each time Reap Soul deals damage, it increases in damage frequency by 6.66%. I see what you did there, Blizzard. I see what you did there. But, so, what we're looking at is an ability now that is going to, every 3 seconds it ticks, it's going to increase the damage it does by 6.66%, and that is a piece of damage that starts at 20% of spell power. I feel like this has to be able to be dispelled too, right? I'd imagine at least. Because 20% of spell power every 3 seconds for 42 seconds. That's going to tick, what, 12 times? 3 times 12 is... no, 36. I can't math. What's that, 9 times maybe? 8, 9 times, something like that. So that's going to get pretty strong pretty quickly, I feel like, over the course of those 42 seconds. And again, this is all very early alpha stuff, so this is all subject to change. As we're seeing more classes get released in the alpha or beta, I don't even remember what it's in right now, we're getting a little more fleshed out look at what's actually in these artifact weapon rather than what's just been data mined, which is nice. But all this is subject to tuning and under-tuning and over-tuning and all that good stuff as time goes on. So keep that in mind as well. Next talent we're going to go with is Inherently Unstable. Increases the critical strike chance of your unstable affliction by 6%. And that's going to go all the way up to 10%. Sweet Souls. Your Healthstone fully heals you. On any party member using a Healthstone also heals you for... oh, dang. That's crazy. So Healthstones now 100% heal you as a Warlock, which definitely addresses the issue of Soulstones, I keep saying Soulstones. That definitely addresses the issue of Healthstones getting weaker as the expansion goes on, or is it the issue of Healthstones being weaker as the expansion starts? I can't remember what it is. I know there was an issue with one of them, and probably don't know this off my top of my head because I don't play a Warlock, but I know Healthstones get less effective either, or they're least effective at the beginning of the expansion, one of the two. But this definitely just addresses that issue flat out. Healthstones are now just going to fully heal you, and then whenever a party member uses a Healthstone, also heals you for the amount they were. That's just crazy. Like, that... I feel like that's going to add some pretty gnarly, and again, thinking strictly from a PvP standpoint, though obviously this has huge implications in raiding as well, I think. But even like in a PvP scenario, like that could be a little bit interesting, especially again just with teams using voice, like communicating, when the best time to use that Healthstone is. that's kind of cool. Like, I kind of, as in thinking as someone who plays a warrior, and I know WLS is a decent comp, and I feel like stuff like this could add a little bit more flavor and a little bit more of a wiggle room, a little bit more padding for the healers, especially depending on how shamans are going to be coming Legion. But stuff like this is going to be great, just simply because it's like, all right, well, if the healer CC, that's cool. We got a health stone. Just have me, the warrior, pop it. It heals me on the warlock, or I'm CC'd. So the shaman will pop his health stone, and then obviously it heals him and the warlock and stuff like that. So that's interesting. I feel like that's a very interesting talent choice there. Cool, definitely unique and really well thought out, but just different. Perdition is one that increases the critical damage of your agony, corruption, drain, and unstable affliction. I'm assuming that means drain life or drain soul, one of the two, by up to 13% when you got it fully decked out. You guys don't have to forgive me, please. I'm coming down with a little bit of a sore throat, I think, so that's why I keep kind of hacking back here. Sorry, my throat's a little bit itchy, so trying to do the best I can to kind of get through this video, and hopefully it be somewhat decent and not scratchy and terrible on your ears. Wrath of Consumption. Killing an enemy causes your damage over time effects to deal 2% more damage, and this ability stacks up to 5 times. Oh, dang. I wonder if that's going to... I can't imagine it wouldn't work, but like, is that going to work on pets as well? If you land kills on pets, hunter pets, death knight pets, other warlock pets, stuff like that, frost mage pets. So I can't imagine come Legion many people are going to play with the pet. I think most people are going to go for the talent that lets them not play with their water elemental. I think that's just going to be the new meta for frost mages, unless the other talents are just that good. But so killing an enemy just causes your damage over time effects to do 2% more damage, and this text 5 times, so that's 10% damage buff to your dots potentially, which is kind of cool. Definitely be cool to see how many warlocks can capitalize on this and land those killing blows to get just that buff, because I feel like that could set up some gnarly burst, kill the pet, CC someone, and just unleash hell on somebody. Could be kind of crazy. I'm curious to see what Affliction Warlock burst is going to be like come Legion, because I know it gets pretty intense right now in WoD, but I've always thought of Affliction Warlocks just seem kind of weird with a burst mechanic. Like, I know it's just kind of where the game is at, and every class has to have like offensive cooldowns and defensive cooldowns. It's just a cooldown game, basically. It's like a checkers game of cooldowns. But I've always thought of Affliction Warlocks as not really needing a burst, because it doesn't really fit their aesthetic or their feel. Just like make sure their dots are strong enough, and if you're not paying attention to them, they're going to just rot you away. I just feel like that's more so along the lines of Affliction Warlock, but since every class does have a burst and a defensive cooldown, I feel like this fits really well with a burst mechanic setup. Just kind of that thing you can, again, keep people CC'd, just kind of sneak in some kills on pets and then line up that burst, just to capitalize on all that damage buff you got coming in from here. Hideous Corruption increases the damage of your corruption by 6%, 8%, and 10%. I'm wondering if all those 13% talents got tuned. Just curious, since we're seeing 10% as being the very common number here in the Warlock tree. Shadowy Incantations increases your shadow damage dealt by 6%, 8%, 10%. And then Soul Flame, when you kill a target, its soul bursts into flames, dealing shadow flame damage to everything around it. So again, definitely emphasizing on killing blows is what I'm kind of seeing here for the Affliction Warlock, because again, you've got 2 talents here that maximize on landing those killing blows. So if you're able to land those kills, you're going to get that damage buff, and then you're also going to get the Shadow Flame or the Soul Flame, which is going to cause those targets to burst, and all of a sudden everything is on fire around it. So definitely, which is interesting to me, because I don't believe that Affliction Warlocks have... Oh, what's the Warlock Execute that I can't remember off the top of my head? Doesn't even look like Destruction has it anymore. Now that I'm looking over here on... I don't even remember what the ability was called. I know it's in game right now, and that Destruction Warlocks have it. Yeah, oh well. I'll be curious to see how this works out for Affliction Warlocks, especially since they don't have that execute mechanic. But if your entire gameplay is based around your dots again, finally, and capitalizing on them, I mean, if you think about the fact that you've got, Haunt is now a talent for Affliction Warlocks. It's no longer baseline. Siphon Life is back. So I mean, you're getting a lot of spells that are going to let you mess with your dot damage. Like for example, one of our first tier talents for Affliction Warlock is Writhe and Agony, which increases the agony damage. It ramps it up twice as high, so that alone is going to be kind of crazy. And then being able to tap into your mana to use 15% of it to increase damage for, or allowing you to just use your mana to increase your damage buff for a bit, things like that. Looking over into the PvP talent calculator, you got Curse of Tongues, Curse of Weakness, and Curse of Fragility back. So we're seeing some of that. So definitely refocusing Affliction Warlocks back on that dot damage. And if you're able to land kills with it, then you're definitely going to reap benefits, because your damage is just going to get higher and you're going to do more AoE damage, and so kind of cool. Long Dark Night of the Soul increases the healing of your drain spells by 20%, 30%, up to 40%. Compound Interest. Each agony and corruption you cast increases the damage of your next unstable affliction by 10%. Oh, dang, that's kind of crazy. So, this definitely looks like it includes multiple targets. So, if you're able to cast agony and corruption on a couple different targets, and then all of a sudden your next unstable affliction is going to go out, say, on your main target, that's going to do a ton more damage than if you had just your agony and corruption on that single target. So definitely emphasis on dot weaving, maintaining dots on multiple targets, which is really what an Affliction Warlock is all about. You want dots up there and out there on as many targets as possible, which is kind of where Unholy Death Knights and Affliction Warlocks are very similar, in that you're going to only benefit from having your dots up on as many targets as often as possible. So I like that they're adding those rewards and incentives to that gameplay, at least it seems. Next talent is Seeds of Doom. Increases the detonation damage of your Seed of Corruption by 10%, 15%, and up to 20%. Next we have Fatal Echoes. When your unstable affliction expires, it has a 20% chance to reapply itself. Oh dang, that's kind of crazy. So depending on, how lucky you are, you might not even have to worry about unstable affliction getting it reapplied. Which works quite well with this, because then you don't even have to worry about getting your affliction up and out and keeping that up on the target. You can just kind of wait, get all your dots ramped up, throw unstable affliction out, let it potentially wear off so you don't have to stop putting dots up on targets, and then it might even just reproc itself, which could work better in your case, because then you can get another unstable affliction up on a different target. Just kind of where my mind's going with that, whether or not that's what you'd actually want to do. It gives some leeway room, I think, for stopping casting your agony and corruption on targets and then having to cast unstable affliction just to keep it up on the target. So pretty nifty. I wonder if this applies to for when it's dispelled. Just curious, because it says expired, so I think it just means like when it fades away. So I can't imagine that would be a mechanic, because that'd be brutal. If someone dispels it, not only are they silenced for dispelling it, but then there's a 25% chance it's just going to reapply itself. That would just be brutal. Drain to a Husk increases the damage of your drains by 6%, up to 10. Didn't we look at that one? I don't remember. Huh. Oh well, whatever. Mere Flesh reduces the damage you take by 6%, 8%, up to 10%. As if Affliction Warlocks need to be tankier. Inimitable Agony increases the damage of your agony by 6%, 8%, up to 10%. And last but not least, over here, Harvester of the Souls. Your drain spells have a chance to trigger on all targets afflicted by your corruption for 3 seconds. Oh, that's interesting. So every target you have afflicted with corruption, your drain spells have a chance to trigger on them. So are we just going to see, like, depending on how the RNG and how lucky you get with the internal dice rolls, are we just going to see, like, mass amounts of drain souls and drain lives going off from, like, targets to Warlock as you're casting other stuff? That's kind of crazy. I mean, depending on how lucky you get, you might not need to cast drain soul or drain life all that often, which is kind of cool. I could see Affliction Warlocks being very tanky again in Legion. Just the amount of damage, self-healing they're going to have, I think, is going to be a little bit crazy. We'll see how it plays out come live once we get into beta and all that good stuff. But if you look here at the top too as well, you'll see these two little points here. This is where some of our relics go for artifact weapons, how that's going to play out. I think that's yet to be decided and determined, or at least shown to us. So we'll have to wait a little bit before we get a little bit more information on that, which is totally cool. But just to give you guys a feel for what it looks like, that's where they're going to go. They're just going to be those little things up there at the top. They might be elsewhere on the actual artifact weapon itself, but that's okay. And as you can see, each one definitely is a different color and shape depending on what your spec and class is, obviously, which is kind of cool. So with that, I think that's going to do it for the Affliction Warlock video. Overall, I do think that Affliction locks are going to have a pretty interesting gameplay style. It seems like they're reverting back to a lot of stuff they removed, which is fine, I think. It's a bummer that we're having to get to this point to where I feel we're needing this revamp during a whole nother expansion rather than working towards this stuff throughout the current expansion, but better late than never. And I suppose when a new expansion drops, it's better time than any because everything's new anyways and it gets people excited about it. So I hope this brings a lot of people back to the Warlock and gives the Warlock a little more attention than it has been getting. Though all that to say, I know Warlocks are in a very strong position right now, so it's not like they're like forgotten. I'm going to mention them by name, but I'm hoping that somehow by like a miracle, my buddy Nexus Furion, who is one of the best Warlocks and best WoW players I know, finds it appealing enough to come back and attempt his Warlock again, because I would love to try to throw down with some WLS with him and just like go for some gnarly raiding push. I think it'd be a ton of fun. So Nexus, if you're watching this one, give it a gander, buddy, and let me know what you think. I don't even know how much free time you're honestly going to have, but you know, we can keep the dream alive. Because, I mean, depending on how strong Warlocks are and what Arms Warriors look like, because, again, we really don't know what Arms Warriors look like yet. I mean, Fury itself looks pretty strong as it is, so we'll have to wait and see what Arms looks like. But I feel like WLS could be a very strong comp in 3v3 arenas, just with the dotting and the AoE damage and all that stuff like that. I feel like the cleave could be very serious, so we'll have to wait and see. But it definitely makes me curious about my Affliction Warlock, and I'll be at least going through and getting all of my classes that I have at 100 with their artifact weapons, just so I can experience the storyline when Legion comes out. That, and I think it will help me get a feel for potentially what classes I want to play later on into the end game. But alright guys, that's going to do it for this video, so thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please hit it with a like, leave it a comment, and even give it a share if you feel like you've got enough friends or family on your socials that would enjoy it as well. It does help, and I appreciate it very, very much. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.